Alrighty, we'll call the the whole meeting for June the 12th, 2017 to order at 7:02. First order of business is Public Works and Maintenance. 1.1, there's a request with regard to Trevita Corporation and Municipal Solid Waste Landfill.
Yep, so Trevita is the one that initially set up our land farm out at our landfill. What it is they set up a contaminated soil site. So they pay us to put soil in there, they remediate it, and then we get to use it as fill for our waste disposal grounds. So I was asked in our meeting on Friday what the previous accounts receivable was. In the last couple of years, for whatever reason, they were bypassing the PAW and were taking it directly to Swan. Hence why they want to open this agreement with us again, because we didn't really have one. And in the last couple of years, what we did make over them was about $3,500 a year. And it's really free money to us, and it's a service that is offered to the public. So our recommendation is to move forward to have us enter into this agreement on behalf of the town.
Any discussion?
Sounds good.
Sounds okay?
That was easy.
Yeah.
Run down.
Yeah.
1.2, parking lot controllers.
So an RFP was put out and released for the upgrade of our parking stall controllers. There was only one bid received, and that bid was for $13,729.50. We want to use the money from the BIPOL, and the balance in that fund is in excess of $300,000. So we are recommending council approve a resolution to accept this tender.
Any discussion?
Is the indication was that the bid was competitive, right?
Yeah.
It's good by me.
Sometimes it's a matter of just the size of the jobs. That's what
Yeah.
kind of scares people away.
Hey, Tony. That's the one for something to print?
They're peeking in.
Oh, that's it. Is there?
It says 200 down the first 200 days. It says.
First 200 days?
Yeah, the rest is all my Zurich bank accounts.
You want to do?
Sure. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
And if you just print to, is it color or black and white? Color.
Sorry.
In a moment here, we're setting up for another event.
It's printed color, it's cheaper that way.
Printed
I'm just
black and
kidding.
white, it's cheaper that way.
Yep.
So people who's building that for it, right?
Yeah.
They already added to their taxes.
Everybody's having a funny tonight, eh?
I only worked half a day today and still got some juice left.
So they give 20, like, when they say 25%, that's 25% of the power? That's how they work?
The parking lot controllers?
Yeah.
They're on a temperature grid. So as it goes down, it goes. So if it's -10 inside, it's like on 25%.
Yeah, it says like 50%, so, oh, it's on 50% of the time, okay.
Right, so.
So it'll cycle
colder,
on
right?
and off,
So at
yeah.
-20, it's on all the time.
Okay, yeah, so I was thinking, yeah, so it's cycles on
I think he
and
said
off.
okay with the,
And
if it
there's
was
a way to
competitive.
make it
Yeah, are we
So-
gonna keep going?
better. I think you have to,
Yeah, let's keep on.
you're not supposed to mess with them, but they'll sell you a remote to change the
Item
settings.
number 1.3,
Oh, really?
Enhanced Building Operations Program, Manitoba Hydro.
I think you're supposed to.
So what we did was we put out an RFP and we had run responses that relates to the Enhanced Building Operations Program. We want them to have a kickoff meeting with us, do research of building components, compile a list of energy saving opportunities, prepare data for us as benchmarks. Basically what this is getting someone to come in and tell us the efficiencies of our building. So SMS Engineering is the one that has put in for a complete of phase 1. They want to do this by June 21st, and the cost is $6,011.60. So as staff, we are recommending to have a resolution awarding SMS the RFP for engineering services to do the building assessment, and this balance will be out of the gas tax fund, and there is in excess of $2 million, so we do have the money.
okay.
So I just had a quick question. This portion of it, is this covered 50% by hydro, or is that, sorry, I should have asked that on Friday,
I
but,
think it is.
yeah, because I thought it was supposed to be
Yeah, that
cost
was the
share.
whole reason of us doing this, otherwise
Yeah.
we wouldn't have
The report.
undertaken the project.
Yeah,
We initially talked, there was a couple of different programs available. I can't clarify that, but I'm pretty sure that's
sure,
the
sorry
case.
about that, yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that wouldn't be the 50% cost, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we would request a resolution.
Okay, my only concern with that is the dates involved.
They're pretty quick.
Our next meeting is after
Yeah.
the closing date on what we're going to be approving, so
If we could have approval to hire them to do the work and then pass the resolution at our next formal meeting. Chances are they'll push back the date a little bit as a result, but if we can get them to do it.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I would just.
Yeah, a lot of time, thank you for bringing that up.
It's just, cause the other flip side of it is what if the best time for them to do it is between now and the 21st, and then we may pass up an opportunity, if we don't, is that something under your authority with that amount that you can?
It's a small enough amount that I can't approve it.
That it's going to come to council for approval anyway?
Yeah.
So is there a general consensus around the table that we would be approving? Okay. Perfect then. Item number 1.4, thumb excavator.
If you recall, we put up the tender for a thumb excavator and we had bids come in and we would request that a resolution be passed to accept the tender submitted by Tormont Cat in the amount of $8,515 plus required attachments, which is another $1,618. So we are looking at just over $10,133 to be taken from the machinery equipment reserve fund, and that fund has approximately $670,000 in it.
Any discussion or questions?
This was the piece of equipment that we said would assist us in demolition of some of the buildings we have around town and also help us in our public works areas.
Okay, item 2, public safety, 2.5.
Sure, I'll drive it around.
So this was the issue sheet that was submitted by Councillor Commodore, and I will put this forward to Margaret, and then I'll also put forward some of the comments that we had at our meeting on Friday.
Sure. I think it's time that we have to do something. Like we were earlier on today, you know, there was a concern about Trigger and Cudmore. And I totally agree with them because we have the same complaints downtown. I have been talking to Staff Sergeant Brent Matisse, I say it wrong. And he's given some solutions. They have been doing a lot more patrols. He's been going like where they go where there is a problem areas and kind of pushing them more. Like if they're here, checking on them. But that's like a quick solution, one part of the solution. I've been talking to the Liquor Commission and they thought maybe we could, there's one thing they could do is have a meeting with the Liquor Commission, the RCMP and Town Council and maybe get some solutions. I also believe the RHA should be included in this. Because, you know, there are some people that fall under the mental health. They should be helped. I have to state that everybody downtown should be safe. The shoppers, the business people, and the persons walking the street too. I've had a few complaints come to me of, you know, there's the fighting. There was one 3 weeks ago at the post office. One gentleman was trying to shake down another gentleman with a walker, and one of our concerned citizens stepped in. And the man was threatening them, well, I'm bigger than you, so I'm going to take you out and I'm just going to take your money. Well, it was really nice because there was a gentleman that came And he walked behind him and he said, well, I'm bigger than you, so maybe you better keep walking. But, you know, I kind of fear that if it's not tackled or kind of handled, there may be the next person that may not be so politically correct or nice about it. Or, you know, that guy could have gotten a punch in the face too. I've watched the fights. Not last Saturday, the Saturday before, I had a young girl run into the shop. She was absolutely terrified because there was a very volatile, intoxicated person, a lady. And I did call the RCMP. I do call them on a quite regular basis. And so she came in. She was quite very, very upset because her friend was coming to meet her for hot chocolate. And so I just told her to come in and watch for her friend. And then this lady went across the street and harassed some people in front of White Feather. And then she proceeded to go to the lights and stop all the traffic, and which it was very busy that Saturday. So it's a safety of intoxicated people on our busy street. I got a comment from Dave Mancini. I was allowed to use his comment when the liquor store was going to be put in that area. They had the Liquor Commission, Town Council, and the RCMP had a meeting, and he brought forward that the one thing that he was very worried about of the location was intoxicated people on the street. And so that was brought up. I know Rosaire House is, I'm just going to put it bluntly, not stepping to the plate. It's not being utilized. We have the people that, the reason why I want RHA, maybe if we can get a committee, because we have the persons that need the help, that are not getting the help. The Rosaire House, they don't have a proper doctor, like a detoxification doctor with the people, and then these citizens are put into corrections, and they're out of sight, out of mind, and there too, they are not getting the proper help. So it is a very big problem. What I don't like is businesses, it's hurting our bottom line, not just mine, but other people's. The people from the high rise are, when I say terrified, they are. They don't come out. I've talked about this before. There's more and more, and I feel nothing is getting accomplished. And if we don't start making baby steps, I don't look at this being fixed, like tomorrow this is going to be fixed. But it's got to start somewhere where we need to be safe. Because I, for one, don't feel safe. I, for one, being a business person, is suffering. I am tired of being swore at. I feel like I'm the sidewalk Nazi for cleaning the sidewalk, vomit, and chasing people out of my windows. My windows cost $1,000 each, so that's out of my pocket, which I have to pay. Yeah, so, you know, no sense going to insurance, because the windows at that time was $864, and that was from a broken beer bottle. So we have to, I have a lot of pride in the paw, and I want to keep it that way. But our downtown area is becoming not very nice. I will not give up. I take a lot of pride in my business, and there's other people too, but this situation has to be curbed. I don't know if there's an actual loitering bylaw, but if there's something, then maybe as business people, we can say no loitering, move along, and not get swore at. And while I'm not moving, or I'm just getting very tired of being swore at and abused.
If I can comment on some of that, Margaret.
Yeah, you sure can, and I'm done.
As far as for an enforcement of a loitering bylaw, it's one more bylaw that we're not gonna be able to enforce, unfortunately. It looks great on paper, but we already have RCMP that are busy that won't do the intoxicated persons. So that's almost setting us up for failure. I think we all around this table have realized liquor store is not gonna be moving.
No, I realize that.
So we've got to come up with a plan. And at the meeting that we had the other day, our pre-meeting on Friday, the discussion went around the table of maybe we should look at some sort of funding. There's funding programs out there. Consider having a person hired to spearhead how we can develop a plan. We talk all over the place, we, Chaplaincy is another one, maybe we can meet with them, see if there's money that they can access. Someone to come up with a plan, because we aren't the professionals in this,
Yeah.
in fairness, it's our office, sorry.
Oh, are you done? And when you're done?
Yeah, go ahead, so my point was, this would be another bylaw we can't enforce. No one's downplaying that there isn't a huge issue here, but we are the professionals in how to deal with this, and I think it's time that if we're gonna be taking this seriously, let's get someone that does know how to do this, and come up with a plan for us.
Yeah.
And I
No,
agree with Randy,
yeah.
so, because I'm not discounting that it doesn't affect your business, but it was 2 blocks away. So the problem isn't new, it was there before, it's just shifted down the street more. If you move the liquor store out of town, those same people will still be there, and they'll switch to solvents and other things that will make it far worse than what we have today. And I think our problem is, we always want to, it's easy to identify something to point the finger at, right? Like, so it's the liquor store's fault. But the problem's ours, and not even the liquor store, but other comments, and we're all guilty of it, said, well, not all the people are from here. So it's not our problem, someone else should be paying for this, or we need to apply for a grant. But we have some funding there through community enhancement or something, hire somebody who knows what the hell they're doing, and let's get at it. Because I agree, we keep talking about it, right? We won't agree on everything, but that we'll agree, like the problem's there, and we're trying to hang it up on someone else and push the problem away. But it's our problem, we gotta own it, get some funding and do it, and not wait for a grant to do it, just let's get going.
Well, that's why I said baby steps. I don't expect things to be covered, but having 2 years ago the community meeting, I'm sorry, but it didn't go anywhere. I don't feel it did, yeah.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I totally
right? So
agree.
it's-
Councilor Marsh?
So the RM is working on something very similar to this right now. If you'll remember, we approached them and asked them to apply for a grant on our behalf to tackle this issue and to hire somebody to tackle this issue. So I know you said don't apply for a grant, but the reality is they have a consultant that they've already paid for who will now write a second grant for them for free because their first grant wasn't successful to get somebody to spearhead exactly this. Like that was exactly the funding that we were applying for.
But my point is that's our problem. So we're gonna apply, we applied for the grant, we didn't get it. And so, okay, now they have the consultant still, who's not gonna solve the problem. He's applying for the grant to hire someone to fix the problem. So if, maybe we get it, maybe we don't, but then we're another 6 months down the road. So we gotta stop what I'm
We should
saying.
talk with the RM.
Sure,
because
that's fine,
otherwise we're both
but
gonna
what I'm
be
saying
doing the same
from
work.
having as much frontage as you do or more downtown, like, it's a problem. We have some funding to do it, let's stop talking about it or hoping for grants or doing this, let's just do it, right? There's some money there, I'm not saying we spend $200,000, but let's look at what we have and get moving, stepping forward.
See, I realize it is a social issue. It is a addiction issue, it's a social issue, and we're not qualified to do that. So I think the RHA,
Sure.
like, I'm sorry, mental health workers, I don't see them. Well, there's a long list to try to get into mental health. And, even if there's not that many that are actually homeless. They're actually not homeless. And there's a few of them that they should not be on the street. They should be in an institution. I'm not saying like a bad solution, but there is one gentleman there that he should be in care, not on the street. Because I, for one, don't want to find this gentleman dead in the back of my shop or in the front. And putting it bluntly, that's what I fear. Like there's another gentleman there, you constantly see him with the crap beaten out of him. And I see the fights and I see the abuse. And it's just, there's not a lot of them that fall in this category. So, yeah. But anyways.
So cut to the chase, and we're not doing a loitering bylaw, we're doing, what is the action item exactly that we're talking about here?
I personally think we should be contacting the RM, like you said, as a courtesy, because if they have something underway, why insult them when they took over the application?
And the other thing is that the Paw Community Renewal Corporation, this is like #1 on their community plan. So, I mean, that's another group where if you're looking at somebody to kind of spearhead, if you have dollars, I'm sure that they would be willing to hire a person to do the work and look after that.
So what if I do that, bring that back to the next meeting, talk to the RM and maybe talk to the PAW Community Renewal and see what they have to say?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Just say we're looking at this, we may have some funding dollars available.
To hire a professional.
Yep, well, it needs to be someone.
And maybe also the discussion with the Friendship Center as well. Just to give them a phone call and see where they're at with things, or if they have anything in the works, because I know that's kind
Well,
of
they're
their...
working with the RM.
I'm meeting
They
with
are,
someone.
okay, so,
I'm meeting with someone on Wednesday from the city that I've had this discussion with, that we might be able to access money.
sure, no,
It's
that's
with
great.
OCN,
Yeah, awesome.
so we'll see where that goes to, so I'll have a report, something back at least for the next meeting.
Thank you, Randy.
Yep.
On this too, should we not be having some discussion with businesses? I don't know if there's any kind of a business organization or something
The chamber.
I would probably let
where they
these
can
people-
do more. And the other thing I've often wondered about with regard to that area in particular is the condition of our back lane is such that nobody will use it unless they absolutely must. They'll cut across through parking lots and not to get to places. And sometimes when you deter traffic down there, you just leave it, well, if you abandon it, they will come, kind of thing happens too. So when we're looking at this, it's looking beyond just the singular
And I think that's kind of like
people loitering.
where we're trying to go with getting somebody that can deal with some of those issues. Because we can talk about the issues or talk about possible solutions, but we're in no position to put those into action. It's just,
That's where we'd like this person.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Meet with the people, see what's going
Overview.
on, do an assessment, tell us what they recommend.
The chamber has done a survey, and I can get it to you next time, of the businesses that we've conducted a survey and their feelings. As of solutions to, like, question mark, right?
Yeah, so I'll get a report to you guys for the next meeting.
Good.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 3, planning and development, 3.1, variation application 2017-02-1508 Gordon Avenue.
This was the public hearing that you had earlier this evening. This is a very minor variation, I see no reason why it couldn't be approved. It's an existing building, the use has changed, good to see someone put a business in there. So my recommendation to council would be to approve this,
Sounds good.
I have no problem with that.
so we can draft a resolution to approve.
And 3.2 is variation application 2017-03-330 Fisher Avenue.
So, at the last meeting, council had requested that we sit down with Mr. O'Rourke and try and come up with a plan as to how to move forward. We did share the plan with Mr. O'Rourke. He's decided to change his application to reduce what he was initially gonna put in there. He's looking at just a retail and 2 apartments now. So we would require to pass a resolution not to proceed with the original variation 01-2017. We're also recommending that this has been the 3rd time he has made application on this property. Most of the administrative work is done. As staff, we are asking to waive the $250 fee. And we're hoping that council's okay with this, so we can have the public hearing on June 26th.
Sounds good.
So we're okay with all of that?
I am.
You're good?
Man,
Randy?
Yeah? Nope, that's why we recommended it.
Yeah, I guess my question was that, does this create a model we follow with anything going forward?
No.
That we
So
don't?
if you apply for the same resolution, same variation 3 times, it would kind of,
I would think we would do the same.
I don't think it would happen again, because we will do what we did with Mr. O'Rourke and meet to try and make it work, instead of
Yes,
letting
sir.
him figure it out
Standard
himself.
process to-
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm okay even if that is a precedent set, you know, the third one's on us, I don't know, like.
I think it's just the circumstances around it where I would have no
Right.
problem with that. If
Right.
it's someone just keeping applying even though we're telling them no, no, no,
Yeah,
then it's a different story.
right.
But if somebody came back three separate times with completely different plans every single time,
He's trying to work
Yeah,
with us.
and that's what it is, he keeps changing it to try and accommodate, so now we have this set.
Okay, item number 4, finance and administration. 4.1, demolition of 123 7th Avenue.
We have had this issue come up before, this is the 7th Street, this is the reason that we were buying the thumb attachment for our equipment, and it was that we have some buildings that, what?
You went like that, but that
Oh, sorry.
one? Like that one or that one?
Sign language. So we have the thumb attachment, and we were wanting to take down this building on 7th Street. We've had a lot of complaints about it, that it's a fire hazard, that it's a place to hang out. We now have people coming forward saying, we would really like a fence put up there too, because we don't want people walking through. I recommend we demolish the building and not put up a fence at this time, and assess this as time goes on. It's an added expense. If we start doing that, we're gonna be putting fences all over the community. Makes it hard for our crews to go in and do the maintenance work on the lots, so I'm saying we just continue with demolition of the building and we do not do the fence.
Sounds good.
I totally
Thank
agree.
you.
Yeah,
You guys are
on
funny.
something like that, we just regularly
It's
cut
get
the
funnier
grass.
as the night goes
Yeah,
on.
do the just the yard maintenance, yeah. So if we start fencing it in, it's gonna be prohibitive to us.
Then it'll get tagged and then we don't,
Yeah. Or it's just another thing to maintain.
yeah.
And we're assuming that they're making an issue. People walk through yards all the time, it's just not much we can do.
Item 4.2, town-controlled entities, financial reporting.
This is
Question from
more
Councillor Gill.
just a heads up, and I'm as guilty as anyone, is that when we come and do our presentations every 2 weeks in regards to our boards that we're on, and then we talk about, oh, we had a meeting, we did this, it's great, and everything's great, and then we go on, right? But I think going through the budget process, there's no reason why we can't be providing the statements every month, even if they're a month behind. Like you should have, each town controlled entity should have proper financial management, which I know they do. We seem to sort of neglect that piece. So to add it in every month, I don't think would be a big deal. And it is something that we agreed to do back in February, and we're not really doing it, myself included.
I was speaking, I sit on the museum board and as the town rep, and in talking with the Shireen there, the director, the question is what level of information and what is it you want? Because whatever you get through me is going to be based on whatever the board gets in a meeting. So it'll be fast forward and it'll just be much the same as we see here, except you're going to get more of it and it'll be presented and received and all that
There you go.
sort of thing at council.
So when we do our reports, there's no reason why I can't go into our Allnet, right, and just go in there. Here's a statement this month for this organization, and here's the next one for next month. So every month, it's in there. So if anyone has it, you don't have to
But only for
go
the
through
town
each,
people.
exactly, you don't have to go through each one and then say, oh, and then we did this, and like, it's just so it's there, you can say, you know, financial
So
things.
that you get a heads up in
There you
case
go.
there's a.
And then for you guys are
issue.
aware as well, right?
You have
Because-
care and control of the finances.
Well, it is, because right now you don't know until the end of the year and all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, something went bad. Whereas if the council's reporting it back.
Right.
at least being somewhat looked after,
Yep.
not monitored, but just looked.
And again, we agreed to do it.
I didn't agree.
Well, you probably weren't here. Were you here?
But you'll notice what I said out there, right?
I know what you said.
Yeah,
Were you talking?
exactly.
Yeah, one of the things with that was pointed out to me that because of the relationship between these organizations and the town and the finance department, sometimes there's some overlap there on things. that shows up, but if we just limit it to, here's what was presented at council and at the board level, then that's what we're.
Likewise, if it's another department or entity, however you want to look at it, if you go 3 months and you haven't seen anything, you can say, hey, what's going on, right? Because you're still responsible for that entity. And we have had that where at the end of the year it comes up and the entities.
We're in a deficit.
There you
It's
go.
all-
And that's a problem, right? But if you knew that 6 months before, maybe someone could say, hey, what's going on here? Which happens as well.
Well, part of that though, you may get a report, but it may not answer those questions.
But my point is that, let's say it's a CDC, right? There's someone who does the statements every month. And likewise, it should be that way for every controlled entity. You should have sound financial practices, right? And if you don't, then that's a problem. And if you go through the whole year and you say, okay, well now we're short $50,000, taxpayer pay up. Whose fault is that for not saying anything? It's our fault, right? Because we sit on those boards and we let it go on. And back in February, you agreed to step up and say, hey, let's keep an eye on this. And like I said, I'm just as guilty as everyone else. We haven't done it. And we should.
I think we've agreed to. I don't think we need to formalize what that report should look like. Each committee that we sit on,
Yeah.
there is always some
Some.
report on the finances.
Yeah.
The amount spent to date against the amount budgeted, the cash in the bank, the assets that exist, the expenses that are coming. So you get that information, take a picture of it, post it to the Allnet. Speak to it when the time comes at the council meeting.
I guess as long as we realize if it gets screwed up, council's on the hook, eh?
What do you mean if it gets screwed up?
You are anyways.
No, I mean for not flagging it, because if they're reporting to us, then it becomes.
It's already the case.
It's already,
If the museum
Okay.
finds itself in a $100,000 shortfall, it's still us that's on the hook.
No matter if we.
Whether we reported on it, caught it or not.
Yeah.
So that then, if not at the next board meeting, then the one in July would be reasonable to expect those reports? Okay.
Like,
Hey.
it doesn't apply to me.
That's you now.
Okay, town action
Yeah.
plan, 4.3, request form, Councilor Wood.
so similar to the last one, back in September, we approved a plan that we're gonna look at about restructuring our economy and everything else. And then things have kind of picked up, which is awesome, but I don't want it to fall on the back burner. And as the 2 points that came up, like one was at 1.1 and 1.2 in committee of the whole and 7.12 in council. I think the one piece about hydropower smart programs is going along pretty good. I would assume that things are moving forward. The one thing I think we still need to discuss is the library and what's going to happen, and I don't know if we need a committee or a sign to someone.
No, I think the library board, so we had a meeting on Thursday night. The library board is well aware of its situation, it's well aware of the asset that it's in, it's well aware of the town's desire to not have to be responsible for that asset. Our administrators on some medical leave periodically here for the last few months, which has made it a little bit challenging to really embrace where that goes, but that's kind of coming to an end here. So I think, at the board level, this is still a topic for development and discussion. Allow the board to continue to action that, come back with some kind of proposal if it's that. I mean, it might be beneficial on our end if we are entirely clear that if it is, and I don't know that this needs to be a discussion tonight, but if it is in fact the position of the town, or if we've reached the point where it's like, listen, that's a boat anchor, we need to be done with it, being the building, not the library and its
Right.
services, but the building in and of itself. If that is such a cost and it's such a maintenance item, it's such an issue in general for public works and engineering and maintenance, then maybe we need to formalize that and formalize the plan for that asset, its closure or whatever, and allow the library board an opportunity to address that, either by saying that's fine, we'll take over the asset, or we're saying that's fine, we'll work hard at finding a new place to be. But I think probably the way for that to progress is in the near term, allow the board to first off react to and deal with structural changes and service changes given the reduced budget and the deficit position from the previous year, And then, in the meantime, follow that up with some decision on our end about whether or not, in fact, that asset is something we need to divest ourselves of. And if it is something we need to divest ourselves of, determine whether or not that's something we're willing to sell, or we just want to close, or give away, or do whatever.
See, and I think in our proposal that we did back to council, because we did a report, we looked at other alternate sites. We looked at what it was gonna cost them to move out of that building, and that's where we stalled. We had nothing that could accommodate them in any of our other facilities. Unfortunately, when it came to the museum, the building couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and
So that's kind of the last step we had, was turn it over to them.
And I
That
remember
was the last conversation we
one of
had.
the things that we talked to them about though is that, we've heard, libraries are going, so something that Andrew said, libraries are going in the way where everything's on an iPad now, right? Like, it's not even really where you go in and check out books anymore. You go in and you borrow like a Kindle reader and you sit down and you read an ebook. So that's the direction and the focus that our library should be taking in this move, is that that's something else that they need to be thinking about, is they don't need to take all these thousands and thousands of pounds of books with them, so that, maybe looking at a space that's going to accommodate exactly what they have. If that's not possible, then we need to go to like Plan B or Plan C, and how do we downscale, or what is our library gonna look like in 10 years? And we need to look at a space that accommodates that, and not what does our library need today.
So, to that end, I would say that this is not something that we need to solve for the library board and the library.
Yeah.
This is one of those opportunities where the library board and the library administration needs to clearly execute its operation on its own, independently of the town. It provides a service to the patrons of the town. It does so through grants from the RM, the town of the Pas, not from OCN as of yet, but maybe there's an opportunity in there to broker some kind of a deal as this thing moves forward. But if what we are doing this will not work well if at this table we're trying to provide them with a solution. What we need to do is identify what are critical factors for us, identify what are facts to the situation, and then allow the board and the administration to develop solutions and broker deals as necessary to make that work. And I think the board there is committed to that, and I think the administration there is committed to that, to wanting to operate independently, provide the service that is necessary. To that end, on our end, if the board at the library is proposing changes, closing on Saturday, structural changes, whatever, if we have specific criteria here that we expect them to see, we need to identify them. If we expect the library to be open on Saturdays, period, end of discussion. If we give you cash, that's what we expect, then we need to be clear about that. And otherwise, we need to not weigh in when they choose to make operational decisions.
I myself see them being no different than a grant that we give to the recycling center and let them be independent on their own.
And the
The
recycling
only
center
difference is we're a landlord in this case, and
Yeah.
maybe it's a matter of, like you say,
Yeah.
turning back to them and saying, we can't continue with the operation of this building, how do you want to proceed?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the part that causes the lines to be blurred, and it makes the discussions difficult because they tend to spin out into other areas. And so I think, on our end, over the next period of months, that should be something that we really talk about in depth with maintenance and public works about that asset in particular, so that we can provide the library board and its administration with clear information about what the plan is for that asset. And then likewise, what it is that we can do to assist them if there is a plan for the closure of that asset or the sale of that asset or whatever. But at the end of the day, if that thing is an inefficient asset for us and we need to be done with it, yet it houses a very important service to the town, then we allow the board to talk about service and how they maintain that and where, and that becomes integrated into a discussion about the asset with the town. So, and the point of contact.
Andrew, like we basically had already said as a result of our meetings, because we met with the library too.
I don't know that we've been perfectly clear though. I mean, I get that we've had that discussion, we've talked about it,
We just never told them.
we haven't,
That's the
yeah.
problem.
that's-
We didn't communicate
There's a
that.
link there that's missing. At our table, sure, we've talked about how that building is really bad for us. We've never actually had a communication directly with the chair of the board or the board of directors there to say, look, guys, here's a reality. That building needs to close in the next 3 years, or whatever the reality is. But we've never made that, we've just always said that building is crappy. That's what we've said,
Yeah.
and it's crappy. And they go, yes, this building is crappy.
And it's costing
then-
us money,
and
and
everybody-
we're gonna do it.
And then everybody agrees and we continue on, right? So,
So do we need to have a meeting then?
no,
The library board?
I sit on the library board, and so I communicate, I'm the liaison between
Yeah.
the library board and here.
So what do you need?
So what I need is at our table, we need to make a decision about the asset. I mean, it's no good to just say, We need to decide if we're planning to close that asset and no longer have anybody in there, then we need to pick a date that's appropriate, communicate that to the library, and then communicate with them through me about how we intend to support and make that happen. That's not a negative thing. That needs to be a positive thing.
But would they,
Library board recognizes that its key element is to provide library services. It has nothing to do with the building. Its key element is to operate efficiently. Its key element is to, minimize expenses and maximize revenues. Even though it's a public service, it's not a business, that's still an element that exists. They get all those things. We are working towards, slowly reviewing every aspect of that and turning that into a really functional and efficient operation. Not that it isn't already, just to make sure that it is, so that we can communicate that back in these times. But the one chunk that's missing is that big hunk of brick with water running through the basement. And so, if we're done with it, if we intend to close it, then we need to put a date on it. We need to make sure that that date is probably discussed with the library to talk about how that moves forward in terms of development, and go forward from there.
Or get a legal opinion that says we will permit them to lease it from us for $1 and they take care of everything, we're not responsible for it.
There's a
options.
deal, there's a deal that can be made. The building doesn't have to necessarily close.
turned over,
or be
yeah,
going
it
out.
can just be-
The town can choose to have it not be its asset. Anybody could buy it. You can put it up for sale or tender. And somebody could buy it. That's, I think, this is why the public
Yeah.
public works and maintenance.
Well, basically,
engineering business.
before you can get rid of it, there's a lot of things would have to happen. That's why I would suggest that if we're gonna look at it, nothing says that as a landlord, we can't lease it to you for $1 and you're responsible for all the repairs.
Yep, and I think that the library at this point the library board is happy to talk about how this service continues to be provided to the community at large, to the region, and how best to, navigate the waters of dealing with an asset that may be beyond its useful life.
so do you need us there, but you need Randy or Jen there, and
Or
probably
just-
Sam and someone to have.
I think
that
at this point, it's
discussion.
probably a discussion that maybe you can have with Sam and Benjamin and look at what elements make that building inappropriate for use or appropriate for use, and then maybe explore what the alternatives are, whether it be sale, lease, whatever. And then on the library board end, if they've got facts in front of them, they can make some plans and decisions about whether or not they would look at it and go, geez, this is not an asset we're willing to invest in as a board because it's so fragile that it would be better to modify our services, modify our footprint, modify our structure, and find other space. Allow the board to find the solution to the problem. Simply identify what the facts are on our end.
I'll just bring back the recommendation that we had last time, because it pretty much had all of that, and it's
Okay.
just, time has gone by,
Yep.
so.
And I can
it's
make
kinda-
that, an agenda item at the next board meeting.
For sure.
For the start of a discussion. And this is not something that's gonna happen over a period of 6 months. This is gonna be,
Did we not originally say September of 2018?
We didn't, there was
we
a
said
date
that, but
set.
there was no discussion with the library really
Yeah.
about how that
That's okay,
integrates
we
into
use that
the.
as
But we
Starting
did meet
off.
with them on a few occasions, we did meet with them and say, look, here's where we're having some problems, we can't afford to be doing
You
this.
met with the board? Or
Yeah.
you met with the administrator?
No, I had the administrator and 2 board members here,
Okay.
yeah.
So then, this is not a new topic at the board.
No, for sure
I
not.
think it's just one of those things that
Need it.
it requires some momentum in the right direction. It's not a negative thing, and I think that's part of the problem, is that right off the hop, it gets perceived as negative because it's a change, because it's a closure of a building or whatever it is. But it's an empowerment of the library board and the library to provide its services in an appropriate asset, and that's really what it's about. So yeah, if you want to bring that forward, if you want to kick that over to me, then, I
For sure.
can bring that forward as an agenda item at the board level. We can have a serious discussion about it.
Okay, item 12.4, 5-year capital plan.
So we went through the budget process, and I know I've spoken to Randy, I think I've spoken to Andrew about this too. If you look at the last page of our financial plan, page 14, it's the 5-year capital expenditure plan. So each manager comes forward and brings their top 5 items, or maybe top 3 items. And then if you look at the document, there's a column for prioritizing. And again, back to last fall, when we were going to talk about restructuring things, and we look at the wall now, we had our big fluffy stuff up there, but we have some real issues, right? We have the lagoon, we have the landfill, are probably the two big ones, water and sewer. But when you go through this document, like, there's no real definition. So I see it sort of as two sides. I see it from an operations person, say, okay, well, for me, I understand some of this stuff. I think from the council side, you know, you're here for 4 years, or maybe longer, or maybe less, I guess. And you want to show that you've done something in your time you were here, right? So you go through the list, which one are you going to pick? Are you going to pick the one that's the town really needs, or are you going to pick the one thing that we think maybe shows that it proves your worth? And I'm not trying to belittle anyone. I think it's just human nature, right? You want to show that you did something, you know, like we paid for an ambulance or a truck, or, you know. So, but given the state we're in, I think we either as a council or a subcommittee need to sit down with the managers and go through it and really clearly define what the top priorities are, as opposed to just saying it. And secondly, some of our reserves have a fair amount of cash in them, and some of them don't. So when you look at this plan, you know, if there's no money in the reserves, then that item that's attached to it, it's somewhat irrelevant, right? So we need to almost have a map up here saying, here's our top 5, and it's a working document, right? Things are going to change. Maybe you get some huge infrastructure grant that you can only use for a defined thing. So something that was number 10 goes up to number 2 or number 1, right? But we need to say, okay, the lagoon's a big issue because our town can't grow until we get that fixed. So we can have 20 trucks below, and we can say, okay, we bought 10 trucks in the 4 years we were here, and that's great for us, but that doesn't help our community, right? So we need to define the ranking of everything, and then how we're going to pay for this stuff. Because we all know we have some serious infrastructure issues, right? And we're not alone as a rural community with those issues, but we need to focus in or hone in, or at least set the path, or set things in motion, so whether it's us or the next council, everyone knows where the bus is driving. And right now, it's kind of hard to say. And that last page, in a sense, drives your financial plan, right? That page from there, you should feel that all the way through. But what happens is we start and we go through, and then we'll pick out one small thing and we'll spend 45 minutes talking about it. And again, we'll feel good because we feel like we're doing something, but we're missing the bigger picture a lot of the time. And I think it falls back on that. So what I'm suggesting is that we take that last page, and again, as all of council or a subcommittee or however we would decide to set it up, but let's take a hard look at what we really need to get done. Because otherwise we talk about it and then we forget, like, and again, I'm as guilty as everyone else, and then 6 months down the road you're like, oh crap, we're going to do that, or we forgot what we talked about. But if we have this working document, it can sit there and we always know where we need to go. Right? So we make a decision, can we do that? Well, no, because we have to pay $100,000, we have to put around $250,000 next year for the lagoon, right? But we don't do that, we get tied up in small things, and that would at least keep us on track of where we need to go and how we're making decisions.
So are you recommending a subcommittee?
Whatever works for everyone. I'd sit on a subcommittee if you wanted everyone there, but I think we need to first commit that we need to do this.
On that, would it not be appropriate for council to clearly identify its top 5? And then look at what groups, committee expertise do you need to develop a plan for each of those 5 areas? Because you can put everybody in a room and give them 5 tasks, and it makes it that much harder. And part of it is and heaven forbid I should say it, but the 2020 plan was this big.
Right.
And what it needed to make it successful was exactly what you're talking about, is take it and narrow it down to specific tasks or goals, and then figure out how you're going to do it. This one's going to take 5 years, this one's going to take 10 years. But you have to...
But we have some major issues, right? Like, unlike the 2020 that had all kinds of
Little things.
nice
Pretty things.
Right, pretty things, stuff we want. Aside from just trucks, like we want a nice waterfront, we want a band shell, we want angle parking down Fisher Avenue. We've got some 3 main items that are pretty big. Like, how much is the lagoon going to cost? How much is it going to? There you go. How much is it gonna cost to tie into the landfill? So unlike the 2020 plan, where it was it was a big wish list, and you're right, you could narrow it down. We got 3 or 4 things that need to be fixed now, all need to be fixed, or we can't grow as a community. So we could almost forget about half that list, but what I'm saying is we have to realize that and have a plan of how we're gonna get there in 5 years, or 10 years, or however we figure it out. So we're committing dollars to those reserves, so it's gonna happen at some point.
So can I make a suggestion? I think that either form a subcommittee or have all the council do it, but I think our first step should be sitting down with like Public Works and Maintenance to get an idea of what the actual priorities are, because from my understanding, when Jody presented the financial plan, the priorities are there, but as opposed to marking them priority 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they put them into years. So Sam and Chris's priority 1s are all in 2018, their priority 2s are all in 2019, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like the priorities are there, so maybe they're just not coming out to us the way that they should be. So I think that should be the first step, is that we should sit down, because every department has a priority 1. And I don't think that as counselors, we're knowledgeable or experienced enough to be the ones who decide what priority 1 should be. I think we should rely on our staffs that we have in these positions to do this. And so like I said, my understanding from Jody is that each department has those priorities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you're talking about, that they're already there. And maybe they just haven't been presented in a way that we're capturing what we need to get from them. But I think the information is there, so I think that should be step 1, because I think a lot of the things that you want is already there.
The information's there, but you said it correctly, each department. It's each department's priorities, right? We need to facilitate a discussion about what's number 1 overall, and that's, I think, the role council plays.
A community.
Right? So
But I
you're
think
right.
if we bring all those departments together though, and
That's fine, but
that
I'm
helps us
not,
paint a better picture.
without a doubt, they have to be there, but there's 15 things listed for 2018, right?
Yeah.
Out of a list of 20. So every department's put their top 3 to 5, and that's great, right? But what we need to do is decipher that and say, here's what's number 1. So why is, why is the tandem dump truck not less important than the lagoon upgrade? Because that's what this list says. This is everyone's department. So that's what we need to decipher as a community. Otherwise, what happens? And that goes back to my first point. You're here as council, what do you want to do? Well, we can do the tandem dump truck, right? We can buy one next week. There's enough money to do that. And that's what happens. We got lots of new equipment. No, but, to make that decision is easier than saying, how am I going to come up with $14 million to fix the lagoon?
So that's what we need, is we need the top 5 the community needs, the PAW needs. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then forget about the rest.
No, I'd forget, but I mean.
Not forget about
Not
the rest.
forget, but then,
What happens if
Yeah.
you don't define that, you make decisions that impact those getting done. They'll get pushed further and further in. Back to my example. So if it comes to a choice and you pick one or the other, I'm gonna pick something to show from the council side that we did it, and then we go back to Randy and Jen and say, well, we still need a lagoon, when are we getting the lagoon? And they're gonna turn and say, well, guys, you just bought 2 trucks for $300,000, that could have gone in reserve, that 5 years from now would have got us to where we need to be. And you see that happening, right? It happens year after year. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's just human nature that.
Well, there's 2 different plans. Some are maintenance renewal stuff. Your truck wears out, you get another truck,
Sure.
that sort of thing. Other things are major projects, and I think we always talk about it as, get to the title, lagoon, and whatnot, but we don't break it down into bite-sized parts, because before you can do the work, you have to set the money aside. If we don't have the money, nothing ever happens. And sometimes we as council, when we're going through our process, have to remind ourselves, and that's where the idea of having a checklist to balance against. Every time, whether we spend $50 or $500,000, doesn't meet our plan. If it doesn't, then why are we doing it? We'd love to do it, but we can't always do it. Defining what the steps are beyond just knowing that, well, we got to build a lagoon and it's going to cost us, is it 14 million or is it 21 million, or what is it going to be? We don't know, and we need a third of that, hopefully, only a third. You have to decide that. Now, we can give it the CAO, and she can ask her department heads to develop those plans. We need to tell them, I think, as you said, what are our top priority items
I'm not saying we need to tell them, but we need to understand what they are, right? Like here,
We need
you
to
could just,
understand it.
2018, there's a $14 million price tag on Lagoon. And then the next year, there's $5.5 million on Big Mill, and then the next year, there's 5.9 on Settee. If we do those items, there's some things that are gonna drop off. And if we do those small items, those big ones are gonna get pushed farther out, and they're gonna get more expensive, right? That's what keeps happening, right? We're not addressing our infrastructure needs, because we get tied up on the smaller stuff, right? And then we turn to these guys and say, well, we got a problem, and they're like, well, guys, we sort of told you, right? Like, this is what needs to get done. But this document should drive our decisions in the rest of the financial plan. You
Right,
understand what I'm saying?
Okay, maybe then what we need, because a lot of this should be in the budget, but to make it clear so we understand, it's that master infrastructure plan going forward that council commits to and works towards and always makes decisions based on, is it good for the infrastructure?
But you have to be careful because you say we need a major infrastructure plan and Public Works has a major infrastructure plan. LaRose is number 1, Bignell is number 2, Settee is number 3, I forget what number 4 is, and I believe Reader is number 5. So they have their top 5 priorities and they can come to us and they can say, these are our top 5, right? And then Chris can come and say, and here's my number 1, the Lagoon is number 1, right? Like, we need a
But we didn't get this far in the finance,
Right.
so we can't afford to do a project without
Right.
having the cost
Right.
right. That's just,
Right.
to think we can is not
Absolutely,
realistic.
right, but like what
So it's
Alan's
always
saying is
dependent
that
on
we
that.
need an overall picture, not just of infrastructure, right? Like, we need an overall picture of every
this
single
list.
department, right?
Right?
Well,
This is
We'll
every
go back and
department.
ask the question.
And they can do it, or they
Are
can
we
come
gonna
back and
put
say,
the-
here's how we're gonna rank it, what do you guys think, and come back to council that way.
And we need to be careful because, just like what Brian was saying, you have to keep up with the maintenance of, and the renewal of your other assets, or else it all falls, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, or whatever you wanna call it, because you're going after the major things and losing sight of the lesser, not lesser, but the renewal of the assets that we have right now.
So are we gonna meet, what are we doing? That's my question.
I'll meet if we wanna do a subcommittee or.
Does
I'll do
anybody
it.
else wanna be on that subcommittee?
I could. What committee is that? I was waiting on.
Okay, so Alan, Brian, and Margaret for the financial subcommittee for setting our pattern moving forward for the 5-year plan.
Is that gonna be a committee to go on the list of reports?
It would just be a subcommittee,
It would be a
though, right?
subcommittee, I wouldn't worry about it.
I got water, you got sewer, what did you get?
Yeah.
So,
Good, Kapisha?
okay.
Good for you,
Yeah.
sure.
Maybe we
Item
Oh, yeah, for sure.
4.5 is the MBCI yearbook advertising.
Can I make a motion that we purchase a half-page ad?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. This is
I think
awful.
it's crazy that it's coming to us, but I don't know, I think we should advertise in our
You guys
school's
asked for it
yearbook.
All the come.
Really?
Yes, you did, when we were discussing the Arts Council, $90 fee.
Sorry, oh,
I
sorry.
don't remember.
I think it's just a shame if we wouldn't support our
Yeah,
local
like,
community.
come on,
Or
I
embarrassing.
say a half-page ad in the yearbook, like, we're not gonna put an ad, well, congratulating our grads in the yearbook, like, that would just look awful. Can't believe we didn't do it last year.
Do we do this every year?
We
Just
used
a
to.
question.
Yeah, we did every year except for last
11,
year.
12, 13,
Oh.
nothing in 14, 15, 100, and 16, nothing.
It used to be 200.
Oh, sorry,
Maybe we need to deal with the resolution going forward, that we include it in the budget, give it a budget line and say, whatever they ask for, buy a half-page ad. And then we don't have to worry about it again, or have council come along and say, oh, we need to save it.
Next council might not be in favor.
Yeah.
Well, this council's gonna present.
And the next one
us
might
the
be
next
$1,000 for
financial
half-page
plan,
ad.
like-
Well, but still, it's a good investment in our youth.
Yeah, for sure.
So can we just make a note to have it, because we will pass the next financial plan this council, right? So
but then we refused a donation to the Paul Arts Council for $40, so.
That's why this came back.
Exactly.
we refuse it to
Yep,
our
we
council?
did.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I thought we bought their
No.
ad, but we
I was the
refused to
only,
pay
I was
their
the only
deficit.
one that said that I thought we should be doing that. Everybody said no.
I thought we should, you know what, actually?
I don't,
Yes,
I don't believe you. 'cause
No,
I wasn't at
yes,
that
we
meeting
did,
then, 'cause
$40.
I don't remember
because I had that conversation, that was a very difficult situation. Yes,
And we walked out of here going, oh my God. I
Yeah.
didn't tell them, I don't wanna tell them.
Was that was over 40 bucks or
$40.
$9?
Yes, it was.
Yep.
It was $90, because I
It's-
gave them $90.
did you?
Yes.
Good man.
I know, I had it.
So that's why this is here.
We get folks waiting, we should keep moving
Yeah,
here. if
so
we can.
$100, yeah.
Yeah.
I have
The
to,
resolution
well,
for other.
I gotta be Grinch.
Okay, 4.6, flag, Big Mill Bridge.
We put some time, Jen has put some time into this, the engineering department, we are saying this is not a priority. We are concerned with the cost and liability, because we need to look at the engineering design, everything. What's the alternative, or do we just drop this idea? Drop the idea?
I would say
Well,
so.
wasn't it something that we were gonna do with OCN?
We never heard back from him,
They
he
were
said it
not-
casually, threw it out there. And I think he
At the
actually
point of
threw it out.
that, our discussion on Friday, like, who knew it was gonna be such a,
No, unfortunately, none of us
need
thought that.
engineers.
No.
As soon as you get the whole engineering aspect of it,
That is,
It's a
You don't want to
disaster.
touch it.
Yeah.
So can we do something else, like say, we'll fly your flag at our town building?
you can't put two
don't let me
flags
go,
on.
Andrew,
Because we can't even
I'm
throw-
not, I promise.
we can't even fly around with that
Can
one.
we
No.
get a new flagpole?
Where are you taking the
Are
money
you gonna
from?
get the
Yeah,
money?
but we want that $100 donation.
Yeah.
It didn't,
We're
it's
not
not,
even
it's
flying
not
our
gonna
own
work.
flag.
It's
I
too
just
bad.
think it's crazy that we can't put our own flag up somewhere. So could we look at maybe doing like, what about those metal like things to put on the street lights or something?
That's
Like
what
right
we
at
were
one of
looking
the
at.
main intersections, like we could have the pond on one side and OCN on the other side and put them at
Pretty much the
the.
same thing that we were looking at on
Then
the
you're gonna
bridge.
have to go to highways.
That's the
because
exact same
you're-
thing.
But what, no, cause we have them right now on like the hydro
They're not
poles.
flags.
No, but
Flying
they're-
around.
we wouldn't get flags, get like metal things, you know what I'm talking about?
Those were very, very expensive.
I can imagine.
Apply to the destination marketing
Awful.
committee, we'll give you guys some.
That's, there you go. That may be something that the destination marketing
So we're
can
saying
handle.
no, not a
Yeah,
priority
no.
this time.
Table it till I come back
Yeah.
again.
Next week, 2 weeks time, Brad.
I don't think it'll be anybody around this table to bring to that. Item 4.7, use of Centennial Park, Canada First Party.
Yeah.
I read it, I said no.
I'm saying absolutely not. We
Wait.
wanna hold off on any kind of political rally. That's during our Canada Day events. And we're saying no.
So I had a suggestion, what if we charge them? Cause I was thinking like, what if they went to the wellness or the rec center and said we wanted to rent them all?
Let them go rent a hall.
Thing.
By all means, let them go rent a hall.
I was just thinking, like, what if we rented to them, then we're not setting a precedent of, we're saying, yes, we let nonprofit groups use it for free, but you're not a nonprofit group.
You may
so
wanna
we're
check
going
into
to charge
these organizations.
you. Into what organization?
Like just into some of the Charter of Rights and freedoms of speech and everything else, and if you want that in your community, broadcast on Canada Day. To me, there's a time and a place and a venue. It's probably great for them, not so much for a positive community.
Well, and I think too, whatever party of a political stripe, that they come
We
and
wanna
want
be
taxpayers to pay for their event, no, I don't think we have the right or responsibility to do that. It's a private group, so they should find their own venue.
And I don't think it wouldn't matter what party it was, it's not a day for
We don't want to
something, we
necessarily
just
be
don't.
associated with any one particular.
Quebec.
Thanks for knowing that.
I hadn't heard the time.
Item 4.8, payroll
No
and
problem.
accounts.
We will be requesting a resolution for pay period 11 in the amount of $116,637.74. Checks in the amount of $1.234,352.92. EFTs in the amount of $74,826.45 for a total of $1.425,817.11. Before you get all scared, this is grants to organizations from our financial plan, so we've got some heavier checks in here, and also proceeds from the sale of 1559 Gordon that we paid out.
Yep.
Okay, item 5, personnel, 5.1, Canada Day holiday.
So, Canada Day falls on a Saturday. Across Canada and across Manitoba and Canada, the day of observance is on the Monday. In speaking with the union, they would request they exercise their right under the collective agreement that they are taking the Friday. So we will have our office closed on Friday. Our management staff is prepared to come in and work Friday on their own without having the office open to observe Canada Day on the Monday like every other Manitoban and Canadian.
I will say though, OCN is observing the Friday as a holiday.
Are they?
Their offices are closed on Friday the 30th.
Cause
Yes.
most of your places
I know.
downtown are all.
I would
over
I
go
there.
with the-
I know.
I agree
We've
with
already made
Randy.
our arrangements on this. Yeah, that's what's odd, there is school Friday.
So,
Oh, really?
Really, the
Yeah.
after grad?
So we would be open on the Monday, but it would be unionized personnel at work, so we would be open for the public.
Okay.
We're gonna have to advertise this very heavily, that we're closed on the Friday,
Aware of garbage.
because that's gonna be our biggest concern is garbage day. People are gonna be leaving on the Friday thinking that they're gonna put their garbage out, and it's not gonna be picked up, and they.
oh, and it's summertime.
Yeah, and it won't be picked up until
Monday.
Tuesday, yeah, Monday, pretty much,
Monday,
yeah.
everybody's on Monday, goes to Tuesday, right?
Is there any issue with regard to supervision of staff, like our,
No, business as usual. They have their schedule, they have the one that you'd be most concerned about is the public works supervisor, and he'll be there. He's a unionized employee.
yeah, I'm just thinking as long as there's somebody in charge, should all, whatever.
Not
there is-
every single supervisor in management.
No, no,
not
no, it's just-
unionized will
just
be-
having-
Yeah,
having that, because
so they will have supervision.
Murphy's Law.
There is, like, they're unionized, but they're supervisors.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean, it's not like. You're saying the kids just go to.
So we're good with that?
Yes.
Well, I guess you do, but you would have a very unhappy choice for some of us.
Item 6, airport airside, 6.1 pavement assessment.
We kind of talked about this at our last committee, the whole meeting. I did speak again with James, and he would like to tender for the airport pavement assessment program. Provinces request a transition plan from us, we don't know what we would need. Even so, we need to look at our own stuff right now. We want to put out an RFP for the work, and we want this to come out of the reserve fund, for the airport reserve fund. This will cost about $15,000 to get the engineering study. We can use this moving forward for ACAP, for the rehabilitation program for the runway. So whatever we spend here, we're gonna be doing this is preparing almost for assessment to apply for ACAP funding.
So you recommend it as well?
I'm recommending that we need to. How else are we gonna know what our issues are?
It's good by me.
Good.
It's a resolution, to put on the RFP.
Okay, entertain a motion to move it in camera.
Be it resolved that we now do move in camera with Deputy Mayor Rock and Terry discuss matters requiring our attention.